What's up and welcome. This is our 1966 Ford Mustang Coupe. This piece of history has been in my family since before I was even born. My dad bought it in the early 2000s and he's been saying, one day I'll restore it. He saw the potential in this car in hopes that his kids would become car enthusiasts just like him, to then finish it with him. Over a number of years, of course, my brother and I grew up as car guys, primarily being surrounded by his Mustangs. In 2021, we finally got some room at our shop to start working on it. We started working on it 1 to 2 times a week for a couple of hours. This trend had stopped, and it has been sitting since. The car is pretty ugly to begin with. It had rust and holes on the inside and the undercarriage. But so far, we've cleaned and sandblasted the interior, sandblasted the undercarriage, got it on the rotisserie, patched all the holes on the undercarriage, painted the undercarriage, interior, and engine bay satin black, kill matted the interior, and started to assemble the front suspension. Since then, it has been almost 2 years since I've touched it. But now, my friends, I think it's time to get the ball rolling. What's up and welcome. Hope you guys enjoyed that introduction. But yes, we are finally going to get the ball rolling on our 1966 Ford Mustang Coupe. And now this thing's been sitting for 2+ years. It really sucks to even say that. And it's definitely been bothering me for a while. I mean, I get distracted with work and buying other things and filming other things and pretty much just a whole distraction. I'm sure that you guys can completely relate to that if you do have a project car. But today, I think it's finally time to get the ball rolling. And now I have a ton of parts that we bought about a year and a half ago, and I'm kind of situating what we have and assessing what we need still to get this thing as a roller. Because that's the whole goal, really, to get this thing as a roller, get it out of the shop, send it to body and paint, make it look all nice and whatnot, because your boy doesn't really do body work or like it. I have attempted it, but I just don't have the patience for it. So yeah, we're gonna get a lot of these parts on today. We're gonna try to, I guess, just get the ball rolling, keep the momentum going, and keep up the motivation. And now I'm gonna be honest with you, this isn't just gonna happen overnight. We're not gonna have a constant flow of videos like this with this project, just because there's research involved and, you know, I do extensive research on things, and that's just what it is. But I will warn you that it's not gonna be a constant flow of Mustang content and whatnot. There might be other things going on, but anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I really hope that if you have a Mustang that you can learn something from me and what I'm doing. I'm honestly new to this platform and I'm learning so much about it. There's a ton of information on this stuff. So hopefully I can help you and give more information if needed. But yeah, if you guys have any advice, any information, anything that any suggestions, whatever, go ahead and leave it in the comment section down below. So right now here in front of me, I have all the front brakes, the disc conversion, and we're gonna be installing that today and just doing other things, talking about the car and figuring things out as we go. So let's get right into it. All right, so this is what we're working with right now. This is the CPP Stage 2 suspension. It seems like a really solid unit. Now what happens is you actually have to cut out what's going on over here with the OEM Mustang, I guess, frame. You have to cut those out and you replace it with this plate here that bolts onto the frame. And then from there, obviously you have all your other suspension, you have your drop spindles, and this is kind of what we're working with. This area here is what we're working with today. And yeah, these Viking coilovers or shocks or adjustable shocks, whatever you want to call it, they're pretty badass. And I've heard a lot of good things about them. I've already done a little bit of cleanup on this entire thing just so it looks good for the B-roll. But yeah, I'm taking some Scotch-Brite and I'm going to be just polishing this a little bit, sanding it down, make it nice and smooth. That's kind of disturbing. All right, that's looking pretty good so far. I think at this point we're gonna get our dust shield, our caliper bracket on, and here's all the hardware for that. And behind the scenes, I am binge watching CJ Pony Parts videos on this stuff. While I do have this stuff for the brakes, there's a ton of other parts that we even bought. Here's our beautiful F100. Yeah, there's Mustang parts inside of here. Like this here is the front sway bar, so I'm still trying to like figure out where all of our parts are. And additionally, I know that up there is our brake lines. Whoa, what the heck? But yeah, up there we do have fuel lines, brake lines, and a fuel tank. Now everything's gonna go like this. We have our bracket. These two are facing the front. It's gonna go behind here. And I have the hardware here. And now there's different hardware, so the long bolt goes to this hole right here. Before I do anything, I do want to mock this up, but as you can see here, it crashes. The caliper crashes here and here, so we're gonna have to trim this guy right here.
Later.
We just trimmed our dust shield. Looks pretty OEM plus, so now we're gonna fit our caliper, just see if it fits in there. Looks like she fits. That's what I like to see. And also there is a reason why we went with that color. You guys will have to see in the future. All right, it's probably gonna get a little messy here, but we have our rotor, which is like 3,000 pounds. I'm exaggerating, but we have our rear bearing, goes back here, and the front bearing goes in the front, obviously. As we put this in here, we're gonna put this seal on. But before that, it's gonna get messy. We're gonna grease it up. And this is just high temp grease. This is gonna be great. Oh, dear God, it smells terrible. We're gonna grease this mug up. I did actually use this bearing packing thing. You put the bearing inside there, put this on, and you just pump it down. Now, we're gonna lock this mug into place. Looks pretty uniform on the outside, so I want to say that's good to go. Now we're gonna go on the front and repeat the same thing by greasing this up and getting this guy down up front. So delicious. Now what I think I might do is just put this on, then put this in when it's on the car. What a mess, dude. Now we got our slotted washer. That guy on. Our little castle nut. I also forgot the cotter pin. Alright, so we got our castle nut all torqued down. We got the cotter pin in. We got the cover on. But I used one of these fittings from the lift. Now our problem is to get this thing off of our cap. But when I try to get this off, it's also taking the cap off with it, which is really stupid. So we're gonna try and get this thing out somehow. It's almost there. Gosh, that was not fun. That was just terrible. And now this looks terrible too because we just mutilated it. But it's on there and it is what it is, so whatever. Everything's nice and smooth now that that's taken care of. Yes, we did tighten these down. These are all good to go. But now we're gonna move on to our caliper and our caliper bolts. I learned a lot when it comes to Loctite. If you guys haven't seen my YouTube shorts, we did a lot of very questionable things with Loctite. But I learned a lot, and for this time around, we are going to be using this blue Loctite Permatex medium strength. It's removable if we need it to be, and it'll stay on there when we need it to stay on there. So this is what we're gonna go with. We're not gonna go with any other color right now. This is it. This should be okay. I'd say that's all right. That's looking pretty solid. We're gonna repeat to the other side now. I am kind of sad that it's damaged right here and right here, but I don't even think we'll be running these in the long run. I could see myself going with some Willwoods down the road. All right, now that the brakes are done, I think it's time to tackle the sway bar. It's sway bar time. I actually don't have any kind of instructions for this. I have a terrible photo of how it gets installed. Of someone did it online, and yeah, here's our little sway bar end links. I already have the right bolts for these guys. Yeah, so we're gonna install the sway bar and get her going. All right, so what I'm gonna be doing now is I'm gonna put this silicone-based grease on the inside of our bushing that go on the inside of our sway bar, and that prevents binding and whatnot. I'm also gonna put it in between these bushings here, because here we have our drop spindle that's gonna go there, and then our sway bar. And once we do that, we're gonna get this thing on the car. I'll tell you guys what, this doesn't smell like anything. Here we are in the engine bay. Vroom, vroom. Let's get this mug on the car. Obviously, you can see right here, this is where the bushing goes. They attach both sides over there, and then the end links, of course. I'm gonna be using these longer bolts just to get everything up and in order, and then from there, I'll probably switch them out to shorter ones that make sense. All right. All right, that one's in order. I'm gonna get this other side. Where did the nuts go? Oh, you gotta be kidding me, bro. I forgot the other nuts, dude. Damn. Can I just leave you like this? Are you gonna move? Yeah, you're gonna move around, aren't you? All right, we're gonna be getting this guy up. Just like that. Obviously, you can see that there's a gap here in between the bushing and our piece of metal, our bracket. And I'll be using these longer screws to get that thing up. I'm getting this grease everywhere. It's fantastic. I'm sure somebody that we know would love that. Now I'm thinking that these are too long. I might be overthinking it, but I'm gonna replace these with shorter ones. But I'm glad that this is now seated properly. Shorter bolt is in there, finally. Hallelujah. We're just gonna hand tighten it, and then we'll move to the other side. Now we're gonna replace the bolts with the shorter ones. Undo all the hard work I did. Oh, dude, that just left the chat. Now I gotta crawl all the way over there to go get that nut. All right, got it. Now that that's all mocked up and looking okay, our end link is actually gonna go onto this right here, go through there, and through the top of the sway bar. It's not gonna go to the spindle because that's where our steering goes, duh. And obviously we'll leave this pretty hand tight when we do the other side. Sway bar is officially on, which is pretty cool. Just one more bar to get across, but I'm inside the engine bay messing around. You can hold my entire weight. Hell yeah. All right, well that feels good to have on. If we're talking about aesthetics now, what do we think? Okay, but for real, the next thing that we have to tackle is getting our power steering on. Obviously the steering, the rack and pinion, the end would go here. So as you turn, the other side is gonna turn too, obviously connected with the steering wheel. I do have the rear end back here. This is another thing that we have to tackle, is the rear end. So this is an 8-inch rear end. This is from the car. Obviously it's factory and everything. See the little drum brakes, see a lot of the sand from when we sandblasted it. Not gonna do drum brakes. Don't know if we're gonna run this rear end. I might need some help choosing. So if you guys have any suggestions on if we should go with the 8, just rebuild this 8, obviously sandblast, powder coat, and put some 373 gearing in it or something else. I'm not too sure. I really don't know anything about this rear end stuff, but all I know is that it's got to handle some torque, and I don't want it to be extremely expensive because I'd rather put that in the trans and the motor. So we have options of going with this 8, get an 8.8, get a 9-inch and narrow it. I don't know if we really have to even narrow any of these. We probably do, since I kind of want to run a bigger tire in the rear just for looks and obviously for function even more. But when it comes to this stuff, I really don't know anything about it. This is where that extensive research stuff comes into play. But yeah, the steering and the rear end are definitely on deck for when it comes to getting this thing on the road. Since we're here talking about the rear end, my dad and I found this tag that was on the rear end that you guys just saw, and we sandblasted so you could read it. Now here we have WOZ. I guess W is usually from the Detroit axle plant, which is pretty cool because we are here in Detroit. The 2.8 is the gearing that's currently in it, which honestly I don't think is going to cut the power that we want. Yeah, might turn into Skittles or something like that. That's what everybody says. Who knows? There's one way to find out. I don't know. The 5 is 1965. J is September, and C is the 3rd day of September. And 930, I guess that's a production sequence, something that they used in the factory. So this is pretty interesting, pretty cool stuff, but I'm not sure if we're gonna run this gearing, this rear end in general. Don't know yet. We're doing research and we're gonna figure it out. All right, that's enough of the yap sesh and the snooze fest. That is going to wrap it up for this video. I seriously appreciate you tuning in this far, and I also appreciate your recent support. Now, behind the scenes, I'm going to be figuring out the rear end situation as well as the steering situation so that we can get this thing on the ground in all fours to then send it to body and paint. At least that's the plan. I'm super excited to keep the ball rolling on this journey, and I can't wait to learn so much about this Mustang. Go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, whether something good, bad, something that you didn't like, maybe an insult, I don't know. Or if you want to see more content on the Mustang, whether it's this one or the SVO, maybe even the Celica. But anyway, I seriously appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.